The wrestling world just exploded with news that nobody saw coming, and honestly it feels like we're living in some alternate reality where up is down and nothing makes sense anymore. Paul Heyman, the man who has orchestrated some of the most brilliant storylines in professional wrestling history, the guy who always seems to be 10 steps ahead of everyone else, just got blindsided by the one person he thought he could trust implicitly. The Vision, who many believed would stand by Heyman's side through thick and thin, has apparently turned his back on the wise man in what can only be described as one of the most shocking betrayals in recent memory. Before we dive deep into this chaos, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss a single update on this developing situation. The relationship between Paul Heyman and the Vision wasn't just some casual business arrangement. This was built on years of mutual respect, strategic planning, and what appeared to be an unbreakable bond forged through countless battles both inside and outside the ring. Heyman took the Vision under his wing when many others in the industry overlooked his potential. He saw something special in him, something that could be molded and shaped into something extraordinary. Together they crafted storylines that had fans on the edge of their seats week after week. The dynamic between them seemed perfect, with Heyman's brilliant mind for storytelling combined with the Vision's raw talent and charisma creating magic every single time they appeared on screen. But something changed recently. Insiders started noticing subtle shifts in their interactions. The usual chemistry seemed off during promos. There were moments backstage where tensions were reportedly running high, though both men did their best to keep things professional in front of the cameras. Sources close to the situation say that disagreements over creative direction had been brewing for months. Heyman wanted to take things in one direction while the Vision had his own ideas about where his character should go. What started as minor creative differences slowly escalated into something much bigger and more personal. The actual betrayal went down during what was supposed to be a routine segment. Heyman was setting up what everyone assumed would be another masterclass in manipulation and mind games. He was in the middle of cutting one of his signature promos, building tension, and setting the stage for what was coming next. The Vision was right there with him, playing his role perfectly, giving the audience no indication whatsoever that anything was amiss. Then in a moment that will be replayed over and over for years to come, everything changed in an instant. The Vision's body language shifted. His eyes told a different story. And before Heyman could even process what was happening, the Vision made his move. The attack was brutal and calculated. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision made in the heat of passion. Every move was deliberate and designed to send a message not just to Heyman but to everyone watching. The Vision dismantled the man who had given him so much, showing a vicious side that fans had never seen before. But what made it even more devastating was what he said afterward. The Vision grabbed a microphone and proceeded to air out every grievance, every slight, every moment where he felt held back or disrespected. He accused Heyman of using him as nothing more than a pawn in his grand schemes, of taking credit for successes that the Vision believed he earned on his own merits. The fallout from this betrayal has been immediate and intense. Social media erupted with reactions ranging from shock to support for the Vision's actions. Some fans are calling this the most justified turn in years, arguing that the Vision was right to break free from Heyman's shadow and forge his own path. Others are defending Heyman, pointing out everything he did to elevate the Vision's career and arguing that this act of betrayal was not only unwarranted but also incredibly disrespectful to a legend of the business. The locker room is reportedly divided as well, with some wrestlers siding with the Vision while others remain loyal to Heyman. Meanwhile, behind the scenes at a recent event, Seth Rollins found himself at the center of his own controversy. The architect, known for his professionalism and dedication to the craft, allegedly had a heated confrontation with several members of the production team. Details are still emerging, but multiple sources confirm that tensions reached a boiling point over creative decisions regarding his current storyline. Rollins has always been passionate about his work and protective of his character, but this situation apparently escalated beyond the usual backstage discussions that happen regularly in the wrestling business. According to people who were present, Rollins was frustrated with last-minute changes being made to segments he had spent considerable time planning and rehearsing. He felt that these alterations undermined the story they were trying to tell and showed a lack of respect for the performers who put in the work to make these storylines compelling. The discussion grew increasingly heated as both sides refused to back down from their positions. Rollins reportedly made it clear that he wasn't just going to accept decisions that he felt compromised the quality of the product, especially when those decisions were being made without proper consultation with the talent involved. The situation with Rollins highlights a larger issue that's been simmering in the company for quite some time. There's growing tension between creative teams and performers over who should have the final say in character development and storyline direction. Wrestlers today are more involved in the creative process than ever before, and many of them have strong opinions about how their characters should be portrayed. When those visions clash with what producers and writers want to do, conflicts are inevitable. Rollins has built a reputation as someone who cares deeply about the business and isn't afraid to speak up when he disagrees with decisions, but this latest incident suggests that frustrations have been building for longer than anyone realized. What makes the Rollins situation even more complicated is that he's not alone in his concerns. Other top performers have reportedly expressed similar frustrations in recent weeks. There's a sense among some of the roster that their input isn't being valued the way it should be, that decisions are being made without adequate communication, and that the collaborative environment they were promised isn't always materializing in practice. This isn't about ego or wanting to control everything, but rather about wanting to have a voice in stories that directly affect their careers and reputations. Now adding fuel to an already raging fire, reports have surfaced that both The Rock and John Cena are not happy with recent developments. These two legends, who have transcended wrestling to become global superstars, are reportedly upset about several issues affecting the current landscape of the business. The Rock, who has maintained close ties to the company despite his busy Hollywood schedule, is said to be concerned about the direction of certain storylines and how they might impact the legacy and reputation of the industry he helped build. His frustrations apparently stem from feeling that some recent creative decisions don't align with the standards and values that he believes should be upheld. John Cena, equally legendary in his own right, shares similar concerns according to sources familiar with his thinking. Cena has always been protective of the business and has spoken publicly many times about maintaining the integrity of professional wrestling. He's reportedly troubled by what he perceives as shortcuts being taken in storytelling and a lack of long-term planning in some major angles. Both The Rock and Cena have earned the right to have their opinions heard given everything they've contributed to the industry over their incredible careers, and the fact that both of them are expressing displeasure at the same time is significant. The concerns from The Rock and Cena go beyond just creative differences. They're also reportedly worried about how certain situations are being handled from a business perspective. Both men understand that wrestling is ultimately about drawing fans and creating moments that resonate with audiences. When they see opportunities being missed or storylines being executed in ways that don't maximize their potential, it frustrates them because they know how good things can be when everything clicks into place properly. Their anger isn't about being difficult or trying to exert control, but rather about wanting to see the business they love continue to thrive and evolve in positive directions. There are whispers that The Rock might use his influence to push for changes in how certain aspects of operations are handled. He's not someone who typically gets involved in day-to-day matters, preferring to focus on his various other projects, but when something really bothers him, he's known to make his voice heard loud and clear. The same goes for Cena, who despite his reduced schedule still cares deeply about the state of the industry. If both of these titans are genuinely upset about the current state of affairs, management would be wise to listen carefully to what they have to say. The timing of all these issues coming to light simultaneously is particularly interesting. It suggests that there are deeper systemic problems that need to be addressed rather than just isolated incidents. When you have a legend like Heyman being betrayed, a top performer like Rollins having backstage confrontations, and icons like The Rock and Cena expressing displeasure, it paints a picture of an organization dealing with multiple pressure points all at once. The question now becomes how leadership will respond to these various challenges and whether they'll take meaningful steps to address the underlying concerns being raised. What happens next with the Vision and Paul Heyman will likely play out on screen in some capacity, though the real-life emotions involved will add an extra layer of intensity to whatever storyline develops. Heyman is not someone who takes betrayal lightly, and his track record suggests he'll find a way to exact some form of revenge or at least tell his side of the story in his own inimitable style. The Vision meanwhile has made his statement and will now have to prove that he can succeed without Heyman's guidance and support. The wrestling world will be watching closely to see if this betrayal launches him to new heights or if it becomes something he comes to regret. As for Seth Rollins, the backstage issues will need to be resolved one way or another. Whether that means finding better communication channels between performers and creative teams or making structural changes to how storylines are developed remains to be seen. What's clear is that talented performers want to have meaningful input into their characters and stories, and finding ways to facilitate that collaboration while still maintaining cohesive overall direction is essential for keeping everyone satisfied and motivated. The situations involving The Rock and John Cena add another dimension entirely to this unfolding drama. When legends of their stature express concerns publicly or through back channels, it tends to resonate throughout the entire organization. Their perspectives carry weight not just because of who they are but because of their proven track records of success and their deep understanding of what works in this business. Ignoring their feedback would be foolish, but implementing changes based on their input requires careful thought and planning to ensure that solutions don't create new problems. All of these stories interweaving together create a fascinating moment in wrestling history. The betrayal of Paul Heyman by the Vision represents a personal and professional rupture with far-reaching implications. Seth Rollins dealing with backstage frustrations highlights ongoing tensions about creative control and collaboration. The Rock and John Cena being upset adds the perspective of legendary voices who have earned the right to be heard on important matters affecting the industry. Each situation stands on its own as significant news, but collectively they paint a picture of an industry at a crossroads dealing with questions about how to best move forward. Wrestling has always thrived on drama both in front of the cameras and behind the scenes. The real-life tensions and conflicts often fuel the best storylines and create the most compelling television, but there's a balance that needs to be maintained between productive creative tension and destructive chaos. Right now it feels like things are teetering on the edge between those two states. How management navigates these choppy waters will determine whether this period becomes a footnote or a turning point in the company's history. If you found this breakdown of all the latest wrestling news valuable, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on every twist and turn as these stories continue to develop. Things are moving fast and you won't want to miss what happens next in any of these situations.